Greetings and welcome to my chamber. In 1971, when Stevie Wonder was just 21, he recorded his own masterful reworking of the Beatles' 1965 smash hit We Can Work It Out, and in so doing injected it with a brand new vitality. Stevie Wonder may have technically been performing the same song, but the feel, mood and style he adds to it is entirely different. From the outset, it is firmly established that unlike the Beatles' mellowish folk pop original, this version is going to be upbeat, cheerful and groovy. Wonder's version of the song is driven primarily by drums, bass guitar, clavinet and powerful R&B style vocals. In essence, a superb slice of tough Motown funk. Motown is a combination of aspects from blues, jazz, rock, soul and funk. With his version of We Can Work It Out, Stevie Wonder proves once again he is a leader in this genre. Given that we were talking about the early 1970s, I think Stevie Wonder helped bridge the gap between white and black musical culture by covering songs written by popular white artists such as the Beatles. Form. Somewhat unusually for a 2-minute 10 pop single, the original lacks an intro, an instrumental solo section, an outro, or a fade out. It could perhaps be called the double bridge with intervening verse form. It also lacks any significant dynamic shifts, but overall is a very effective arrangement. By contrast, Stevie Wonder's exciting reworking includes all of these pop staples, but only visits the bridge once in favor of a harmonica solo over E flat and D flat. Instrumentation. The Beatles. The original Beatles version of We Can Work It Out is driven mostly by tambourine, acoustic guitar and vocals. The drums and bass are slightly further back in the mix compared to the other instruments. Thus, the foundational role that the drums and bass usually play is somewhat usurped here by the tambourine and acoustic guitar. This prominence of the acoustic guitar and tambourine make the song feel very folk rock in flavour. Harmonium also plays an important role in the song's sound. The pads of the harmonium give the song a kind of melancholy feel that complements the mood Paul puts into the lead vocals, a kind of plaintive longing to sort out his girlfriend problems. Stevie Wonder. Compared to the original, the textural quality is fairly dense, with drums, bass, clavinet and rhythm guitar driving a muscular foundational bass that is clearly audible in the mix. Rhythmically, the song is made stronger still by insistent and tightly played tambourine that moves to more rhythmically dense phrasing in concert with the song's shifting dynamics. There is a rich palette of vocals on display, as well as a lead guitar playing fills. A vibrant harmonica solo features, which includes an infectious syncopated second harmonic motif underneath the solo. This propulsive rhythmic hook is taken up by the lead guitar during the outro, a very effective use of repetition. Rhythm. There are some nice rhythmic contrasts between the two pieces. The standout is the absence of any crotchet triplets in Wonder's bridge. Rather, he just keeps the driving 4/4 Funk Brothers groove going throughout. It's a dance track, but the rhythmic repetition never gets stale. It is amazing to reflect that from 1959 to 1972, the Funk Brothers session musicians played on more #1 hits than the Beatles, Elvis Presley, the Rolling Stones and the Beach Boys combined. Wonder's version peaked at number 13 on the US Billboard Hot 100 in the year of its release. Wonder uses a nice 1-bar quaver rundown to neatly transition from the bridge into verse 3. Also of note is his rhythm guitarist's snappy chunks on beats 2 and 4, classic soul stuff. Rather than start the chorus on beat 1 as the Beatles do, Stevie sings the word we on the end of 4 during the previous bar. This gives the chorus a displaced feel. If you have just listened to the original. A subtle rhythmic event the Beatles throw into the end of the lone middle verse is a syncopated rhythm, notable because it only happens once in that verse. Of further rhythmic note is the Funk Brothers bass player, who really lifts Wonder's version with busy, free-flowing and oh-so-fat lines. That it is up front in the mix serves the whole creative endeavour perfectly, a prime example of the judicious and appropriate use of semiquavers and in a different orbit to the original bass line. The Beatles' texture remains fairly light and reined in terms of layers of instruments and vocals and how richly they are executed. This treatment serves the song well, and producer George Martin likely had an important hand in making sure the piece remained firmly within folk pop territory. For Stevie Wonder, his version, the overall textural quality is far denser, with a much broader range between the lowest and highest pitches, multiple backing vocals, plus more numerous and weighty instrumental tracks such as electric guitars and keyboards. Melody and harmony. The choice of keys and chord progressions in the original is straightforward compared to many other Beatles songs such as Help's introduction and You're Going to Lose That Girl, with its remote modulations. The verses are in D major and the bridge is in B minor, the relative minor of D major. This is pretty standard harmonic material, except for the late appearance of the dominant chord, which doesn't happen until the end of the verse at bar 8. The flattened leading note chord of C major helps anchor the home key in place of the dominant A major. Stevie Wonder, in his version, raises the key a semitone to E flat major. E flat major is often associated with bold, heroic music, in part because of Beethoven's usage. I feel this key serves Wonder's uplifting style and mood very well. Like the original, Wonder's bridge moves to the relative minor, which creates an effective 5/6 deceptive cadence that helps build tension during the bridge until the return of the tonic chord in the verse that follows it. For all the wonderful vocal harmonies that appear on the latter version, I don't think the bridge on the original can ever be equalled for its simple, tight power. It still gives me the chills even now. Lennon takes the lower melody and McCartney follows above him in thirds. In the hands of these two, it creates an immaculate dual lead vocal delivery that is part of the reason they remain the biggest band of all time. A commonality that stems from the original composition is the vocal melody's tendency to stay on the same note for 5 or so syllables. Keep on talking till is all on the note of E. This tactic serves to give both the original and cover a persuasively insistent edge that helps drive the narrative home. Worthy of attention is Wonder's treatment of the transition from the harmonica solo into the final verse. In a dynamic masterstroke, this tension-releasing section then beautifully builds into the party that is the extended outro over the E-flat, D-flat vamp. Here the insistent rhythm section breaks down for a superbly constructed 7-bar build-up. E-flat for 2 bars, D-flat for 1 bar, C for 1 bar, E-flat again for 1 bar, then down stepwise to B natural and into verse 4, hitting the ground running. How much input the song's arranger, Wade Marcus, contributes is difficult to tell, but the song's arrangement coupled with crack session musicians translate to a classic recording that today still sounds fresh and exciting. Of particular interest is an effective harmonic device that occurs in the Beatles' bridge. Here the harmonium sustains the B natural through a change of chord from B minor to G major where it belongs, and continues to hold it through the shift down to F sharp major. Along with the pa colour of the crotchet triplets, for me it just adds to the appeal of a harmonically interesting bridge that does a great job of supporting the narrative. Vocal performances. Stevie Wonder's vocal performance in this song is exuberant, often loud, and full of marrow-deep human feeling. The dynamics, timbres, and pitch range he covers is astounding and show a pleasing lack of self-consciousness. From a whisper to a growl to a near shriek, it is always a completely engaging delivery. The thickly layered harmonies on the bridge and outro are both technically masterful and breathtakingly musical. Like so many artists from the Motown stable, Stevie Wonder is at heart a showman. He brings to his recordings and live performance a palette of technical vocal mastery that is endearing and rolled out with rare panache. The Beatles keep it simpler and softer, but no less catchy and moving. All the original's vocals have a delivery, intonation, and blending that are seamless. The only vocal harmonies in the piece appear on the bridge, but they are extremely well realized. McCartney also doubles his lead vocal line elsewhere to make it fuller. A primary vocal difference between the two recordings is that the Beatles barely cover an octave, while Stevie Wonder covers a much wider pitch range. For the listener, both the original and cover version certainly have their musical merits vocally, a fact reflected in their enduring popularity. Conclusion. At the end of the day for me, and typical when discussing Beatles covers, the original still carries the song's narrative most effectively. Stevie was offering a fresh take on a familiar hit that people could dance to, and thus appreciate the way in which he was able to shift the song to so masterfully from folk rock to R&B. Clearly Stevie is paying homage to a great Beatles composition by covering their song, but at the same time he is making it his own, and thus more of a funky R&B tune that is typical of his style. Stevie's brilliant version is a work that respects the original while going beyond, pairing entirely new musical choices and a healthy dose of party time joy that perhaps speaks to breaking down racial barriers.